And joining us live to discuss this issue is Just the News' Nick Ballasy. Been following this story. Nick, not the news that we want to hear today. So you wrote this article. What did you find?
So the Republicans on the Ways and Means Committee in the House, which is the tax writing committee in the House, they had a meeting with experts in various states, as well as individuals who are officials in the Attorney General's offices in Ohio and Indiana. And they brought out some pretty eye-popping statistics about the issues involving fraud with the jobless benefits. In summary, the enhanced federal weekly benefits that were added at the start of the pandemic in March have really served as a magnet for fraud internationally as well as domestically, because there's all kinds of new requirements in there and new rules that allow people who were not able to qualify previously, like self-employed individuals, could now apply for benefits and get these added federal benefits on top of their state benefits. And work search requirements have also been waived in many states during the pandemic. So it just served as a magnet for fraud, people submitting fraudulent claims for unemployment and getting them approved because they're using, according to these experts, stolen personal information from various cyber hacks. So they were able to get this information on the dark web, and they're able to use it to create fake unemployment claims and actually get these jobless payments. I mean, in some cases, they could still be getting these jobless payments because they've been in effect since March 2020.
So how much money are we talking about? Because, here you have the president going around touting, as we mentioned the other day, his infrastructure bill. He's sitting there encouraging people, at least he says he's encouraging people to go ahead and get a job. We've seen some states cut back unemployment benefits. But, I mean, how widespread of an issue is this? How much money are we talking about?
So the officials at the meeting have agreed that the estimate is about $60 billion in fraud right now. That's not even accounting the fraud that was tied to the Paycheck Protection Program. I myself reported on about $800 million in duplicate loans that were issued under that program. You've seen all the reports of people getting fraudulent loans with businesses that are registered, but they're not operating, they're closed. So a lot of fraud. We're going to see these big numbers coming out as a result of the pandemic, because remember, Congress was trying to get this money out the door so fast, so quickly, and that has contributed to a lot of these issues with the jobless benefits in particular, because it was almost like, according to these experts, let's get the money out there and then we'll figure it out later if it's fraudulent. Well, they were saying we got to put these measures in place, especially with the jobless benefits, beforehand, because it's so much harder to go get the money later after it's already out the door and spent in a fraudulent way.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap that figure around my head. $60 billion, and the fact that we're just now hearing about this. Why are we just hearing about this, and what's being done, if anything, to try to get that money back or to prevent more fraud from occurring?
So the experts on the call during the meeting were saying that the FBI is extremely stretched thin when it comes to chasing down pandemic fraud in general, especially when you look at the jobless benefit fraud. So there's not enough resources right now. As a matter of fact, if it's an international group that took money in a fraudulent way through a program like the jobless benefits, the officials on the call from the states were saying it's impossible for us to chase it down. We have to work with DOJ, our federal partners, and they're stretched thin. And I'll have to tell you, the Democrats in Congress weren't even on this meeting in the Ways and Means Committee. It was a more casual meeting held by the Republicans. And they're saying, well, we hope the Democrats will come on board and help us put some protections in place to not only fix this problem, but to address it for the future. And then, of course, try to get more resources behind chasing down this money. So we'll see. I mean, if anything, this should be a bipartisan issue. Fraud, preventing fraud.
It should. It should. And thank goodness that you're on top of this story, because, we're not hearing this all over mainstream media outlets. But, Nick, thank you for the investigative reporting that you do. And please keep us in touch with any further developments. Thank you.
Will do. Thanks for having me on.